Hey, so Castlevania 4. Super Castlevania, Super Castlevania Super! Castlevania 4 is the type of game I call an eternally start game. I've put it in, played a few levels, died, and turned it off before I got any further than that, more times than I can count. Due to that, I've heard this ditty hundreds of times. In a fun twist, we're actually not at Dracula's castle just yet, but we join our hero, Simon, on his way over to that bad boy. The first few levels aren't really anything to write home about, but they give ample time to get used to the mechanics here. So, let's talk about them one by one.
Psych!
This game has been out for 34 years at the time of this video. So, all of you know how the mechanics work. I'm not gonna tell you anything you haven't heard a million times. Instead, you know what? Let's just talk about these intro levels. The Medusa fight always bothers me here because it's set up like a full-on boss, you know, health bar, end of level, but when you beat it, you don't grab the orb or get your health back. It's the only, quote, boss in the game that functions like that. Every time you take out the enemy bar, you get an orb directly after, damn it. Stage 5 is a little wonky. The background and foreground somewhat blend together, so I've definitely hopped off the edge more times than I feel comfortable admitting to you. And the ability to let the chain hang limp can be used for a couple funny kills. It has no collision with the stage objects themselves, so just flop that bad boy right down on top of the enemies' heads.
Nice.
Dracula really has it right, too. He's stocked level 6 with only the fiercest of enemies. Bro, is that a table? Level 7 takes us through the library of the castle. There's a long drop at the start that has enemies flying through the air at you, while possessed books flap around like birds, smacking you. After that, you'll need to pass through this portrait gallery.
Now, wait 1 moment, young man. Your grandfather's on the way. Hold still.
Also, there's this odd centipede thing that only shows up in this one room in this one level. You're able to walk right past it, and since I had one literal tick of health left, I quietly tried to walk by it without engaging. It just makes me laugh because why put so much effort into something so strange that can be easily avoided like this? I take on the knight here, and it's actually pretty simple. Fight, fight, fight. But again, since I was so low on HP here, I was clenching my SNES controller so hard I almost snapped it. Rah! Woo! Whoa! You like instant death? This stage sucks. I've always had this belief that the harder the stage is, the easier the boss is, and this is a dead ringer for that concept. I beat that boy's ass here. First try. First try. I love level 9, the golden treasure one. Yo, like, listen to the freaking cool sound it makes when you walk on the treasure chests. Talking about sound, it makes me want to talk a little bit about the music as a whole. Look, I hate to say it, but this game has a bunch of stages and as such, a bunch of tracks, but most of them just aren't very good. Other than the intro in stage 1, which rocks, I don't know, I just don't like many of the other ones. I think they're more ambient than catchy, I guess is another way to say what I want to say. This stage is an exception to that though, but otherwise, as the final levels contain remixes of existing Castlevania songs, I can't really count them either. At some point, I'm gonna review the other Castlevania game for the SNES, Dracula X, but let me tell you what, that game's soundtrack kicks ass, so it's kinda hard to go back to this one after playing that one recently. Wow, that was a detour. Anyway, Bat Boss was fun, little cheap with the prongs that shoot out when you hit it, but, you know, easy otherwise. Yo, these end stages are no joke, dude. I died over and over and over again. If you can fight your way through, though, you'll be met with some of the coolest set pieces this game has to offer. Climb up the clock tower. Work your way across the bridge, collapsing into bats. And no, seriously, screw this part in B2. You have to make your way up this stage by using staircases that collapse, and then you need to ride on top of moving platforms with instant kill spikes lining the ceiling. All the while, this spinning death disc chases you slowly, so you need to move your ass.
Aw, did you accidentally miss the stairs? Well, that's too bad.
You'll have to try again! Whatever, bro. The boss rush right before Dracula isn't too bad. The standout for me is the fight with Death, though. He uses an attack that pulls you towards him, and to attack, you need to jump and tilt the D-pad diagonally back, and then quickly back to the left to avoid taking a hit. I think it's a really cool mechanic, whipping while trying to avoid getting pushed around, that only gets used the one time here. And Dracula is such a pushover! One of the attacks he uses literally drops health pickups if you can hit this orb as it flies around. Unlike the other games, he only has one form, though the fight does get increasingly complicated as it goes on. Once you take him out, it's custom to whip away all the bats, and you did it! Thank you so much for watching as always. To wrap this up, I've loved this game ever since I've rented it from the store way back in the day. I've only beaten it a couple of times, so it was fun to see all the stuff I had forgotten about later on in the game. The other Castlevania game on the SNES, Dracula X, gets a lot less love than this one, but I've been playing it recently and find myself really enjoying it. But that'll be a Velvet Talks for another day. Let me know in the comments if you played this game back in the day or if it's something you picked up later in life. I love knowing that sometimes these old-ass games that I grew up with find their way to new people who never experienced them before. As a matter of fact, that's one of the things I'm really liking about making these videos. I feel like there's still a bunch of hidden gems to find out there, and when I do, I'll do my best to show you as entertainingly as I can. If you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing and checking out my channel. I have a bunch of other ones there, and have a great rest of the day!